Hello, friends. Welcome to the Friendlies Podcast, where best friends talk about video games. I am Jack Peglow, and my best friend is here with me, my co-host, Rob Wong. Rob, I know you're not feeling great, and neither am I, because we've been playing The Last of Us, but relatively speaking, how you doing?
Can't say I'm too bad. I mean, you and I both have rolled credits, and one of our friends
We sure have.
has also rolled credits. The three of us have been talking all day about it. I am ready to move on, and I think that's the general consensus between all three of us.
I made a tweet saying this too, but when you finish and the game asks if you're ready to start a new game plus, I think I made an audible scoff.
I do want to try playing the beginning sequences again.
Like you think I'm some kind of masochist? What is this?
No. Like the first maybe the first section of Seattle, just with all of your upgrades. Like I want to see how easy it would get with all
just
of those
go ham
upgrades versus like you having none at all. You know, when you first start the game. But still, that's down the line. When I want to try it again, not like now.
It's so much, and we really can't get into it.
No,
we can't do it.
No, but we're thinking of doing a spoiler cast down the line with some of our buddies to give some more maybe hot takes. So
I'll say this, because that's really sort of like the only thing worth talking about when we say what we've been playing this week. Both of us feel very similar, and we're both pretty disappointed in how the narrative played out. We won't say why. It's just,
yeah, I think that's
it's disappointing, and I think it's also hard to talk about because you, one, don't want to be a dick and spoil it for people that still haven't played it because the game has not been out very long.
A week.
But two, the discourse surrounding the game right now is very impassioned. It's heated, and it's also been sort of co-opted by people that aren't talking in good faith.
Yeah.
So it's very hard right now to have legitimate discussion about issues with the writing because that's being drowned out by people that are just being dumb.
Yeah, I think our friend Ethan said it best, right? Today in our group chat he said this is the video game version of The Last Jedi. And I kind of feel like that's probably the most apt analogy here in terms of how the conversation is going. And I will say it'll be very interesting for when a few more of our friends finish the game and we're able to talk about it like with more bigger group, and then on our spoiler cast as well, just to talk about all of it from like beginning to end.
And that'll be interesting because we all sort of agreed that the further away we get from the game and the more we think about it, the less enthused about the writing we are.
Yeah. That's not to say that there's some sequences that are great, right?
No, I think I said this in our chat, and I think this is a really good way to sum it up. It's sort of like they were putting together a puzzle, and some of the individual pieces, if you look at them in just a vacuum, are great, perfect, beautiful segments.
Absolutely.
But the actual puzzle that they put together doesn't fit. It's pieces from different puzzles sort of thrown together haphazardly.
Yeah. I concur. I concur with that statement. But we can get into that when we do our spoiler cast online.
We got to stop. We're getting close to the danger zone here.
But moving on.
We got to just get into the news.
Let's do it.
We got to move out.
Moving on.
Positive stuff. Super Smash Bros. Getting a new fighter. Monday, Min Min is joining the roster from ARMS. For those who don't know who she is one of the fighters in ARMS, the video game. Her motif is ramen noodles, which is just incredible.
She runs a ramen shop by like the back info, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. She is very interesting. She introduces a new mechanic that no other fighter has, where your A button controls your left arm, and the B button, instead of being special moves, controls your right arm.
Isn't that kind of how Terry works?
No. So Terry and Ken and Ryu both play like they're in their games. So they have very specific like inputs that do different moves, but they still have specials and normals. Min Min has just normals, but they're different depending upon which hand you're using and what special glove she has on, which you can switch with her down B.
Right. Well, she can switch one of her arms.
Right.
The left arm stays as the dragon gun always.
Right.
And then you can switch out the right one to the other, I think 3 or 4 different arms. There's
the dragon, the boomerang, the like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
They might have only included 3 in this one. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yep.
But it's really cool. It's unique. Unfortunately, obviously she's not out, so it's hard to say anything definitive, but she doesn't look like she's going to be super good, because it looks like she's going to suffer from the same sort of issues that fighters like Byleth and the Belmonts have, which is that if you can keep people out of range, you can do really well. But once people get inside, they don't really have any options, and they're just kind of boned.
Yeah, because even in the little like, the demo that Sakurai did, like you can do like a little like hop, and you can just jump over any of their punches, super easily.
And a lot of characters in Ultimate have really good movement options.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be tough.
I feel like if you can pull off a good Lil Mac, like it's pretty much game over against Min Min.
I mean, Zero Suit Samus with flip kick basically invalidates all of the things she wants to do.
Yeah, you're right.
Whoops. But she still looks fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those characters that's fun to play with friends, not like competitively.
Totally.
Or she won't be a part of the meta, but I think with friends it'll be fun. I think I'll have fun with her just like when we play. And it's just like, the 4 all-out smash, and I'm just like mashing long-range attacks from one side.
Right. But speaking of Smash, arguably bigger news than a new character in Ultimate, which is really saying something. Super Smash Bros. Melee is back on the menu. There was a mod released for the Dolphin emulated version of Melee, and Dolphin is something that you run on your computer, allows you to play GameCube games. It's called the Slippy mod for Melee, and what it does is it adds rollback netcode and matchmaking to Melee.
Wow.
And it has caused an explosion of people playing the game. all week it has been consistently drawing more viewers on Twitch than Ultimate. A lot of Ultimate's top players have actually been playing it all week.
I mean,
It's insane.
this is the weird part, right? Like from Nintendo's perspective, do you just let this go?
Yeah, I mean, like, they're sitting there watching Ultimate not get invited to EVO Online because of its poor netcode, and somebody, like a single person, just added rollback netcode to their old game.
Yeah. So and people are basically monetizing off of it by watching it on or playing it on Twitch, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm currently looking at Twitch. Ultimate currently has more viewers because Nairo's playing, and Nairo is, I think, maybe the biggest Smash streamer. He's incredibly successful, sponsored by NRG. He has like 4,500 viewers right now.
Jeez.
But other than that, everybody is under. They're at like 50K. And then if I go look at Melee, yeah, it's a lot more. And there's Ultimate top players playing Melee right now. Samsora, Tweak, The Buzz. It's a lot of ult players. Leffen is currently going too. He's got a lot of viewers. It's wild, man.
I mean, yeah, that's why it's weird to me. If you're like Nintendo sitting there, like, is this just good marketing for you across the board, or do you want to like you could potentially put a cease and desist order to this if you really wanted to, just because they're technically playing illegally.
I don't know what the history is with Dolphin, because Dolphin has been around forever, and I feel like if Nintendo had, like, if it was an option, Nintendo would have went after Dolphin by now, because they usually go hard after that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, it's an interesting thing to maybe look into, but it's still cool that someone. I mean, the fan base and like the community around it is huge, to the point where someone invested like their life skills and created rollback netcode into a game that's over 10 years old.
20
years old. Jeez, has it been that long since Melee? Wow.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Melee is sick. Play Melee. This is an interesting headline because some people are very excited, and some people, because of the source material, are sort of groaning. Rumor floating around that Rocksteady, the developers of the Batman Arkham games, are working on a Suicide Squad game.
Oh,
Did you play the Arkham games?
I did. I think the only one I did not play was Asylum. I think I played.
But I feel like that
City.
people think that's the best one. Or no,
Yeah.
City, I think people think is the best one.
I think City was the best one, which was the second one in the series, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I beat City. I beat, what was the third one called?
Is that Arkham Knight?
Arkham Knight. That's right. Arkham Knight. I beat Arkham Knight. I beat Arkham City. And I never played Arkham Asylum. So kind of where we're at. But I mean, I love those games. It really immerses you into like feeling like Batman.
Yeah, it does. And it feels good. Not only does it make you feel like Batman, it makes it feel good to be Batman.
Mm-hmm. Like that opening sequence in Arkham Knight. And, there's a lot of qualms that people have with the game. But that opening sequence where you come up and then you like phone Alfred and he like shoots over like this rocket missile or the bat. I think the Batwing drops off, or the Batplane. The Batplane drops off like this little like canister thing that lands on the roof, and then you open it up and it's the bat suit, and then like you click it, and you like go in like it's Iron Man suit, and it goes into first person, and it like, makes you feel like you're putting on the suit. I think that was one of the coolest sequences in any video game ever.
I feel like most people's issue was with the tank.
Yeah, a lot of people this issue was with the Batmobile, but you still got to ride the Batmobile, and it felt good driving around the city as in the Batmobile. It's just the tank parts were just super annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, rumor is that they are making a Suicide Squad, game. A list of leaked domain names. This is coming from a Resetera forum. Seems to point in that direction. They popped up. Registered by a company connected to Warner Bros. Some of them include Suicide Squad, KillTheJusticeLeague.com, which would seem to imply maybe it's not just Batman.
Which would be pretty cool.
Would you want to fight Batman as a Suicide Squad?
I think it'd be an interesting take. I mean, it depends on which Suicide Squad members they decide to put into the game, right? But overall, like most of the Suicide Squad has some pretty unique abilities. I just don't know how good they're gonna make if this is really real. I just don't know how much gameplay like depth they're gonna be able to hone in on for each character because they're so drastically different.
And if you have to develop for that many characters, then you wonder, if it's going to feel shallow.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I mean, my thought when I was reading through this and like, seeing when these rumors first popped up was like, is this a total misdirection, right? Is this like were they planning to use this as a marketing scheme to like start maybe like a Justice League game or like another Batman game? In the sense that like, you know what? Do you get what I'm talking about? Like, the marketing thing where they actually market the opposite side of what they're marketing.
Sure, it's a feint.
Yeah. Where like like Chick-fil-A's thing is like eat more chicken, but it's like cows talking. Kind of like that. I think I would have been super cool if this hadn't leaked and they like started talking. They started leaking these trailers and stuff that kind of teased that Suicide Squad, but then like the big reveal or turnaround was that it's Batman actually going after the Suicide Squad, or it's like the main core of the Justice League going after the Suicide Squad, and it's just like the Suicide Squad like acting like as if their game is coming out. I thought that would have been super cool, but even if they decide to do a full Suicide Squad game, I think it's unique. There's not a lot of games where you can play as the villain other than like the Lego villain games.
Sure.
The DC villain games. So yeah, it's all. But I think the side thing that's interesting here is that we've seen the rumors that WB is like putting up their games department like up for sale, right?
Right.
And so that with this all linked together, it's like that'd be so weird. I guess maybe it's not so weird that you're developing more assets so that you can sell them off, like at a higher price, But still weird that these things are leaking like right as they're showcasing or they're trying to sell that division off to someone. So
right. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yep.
Moving right along to another new game. This is very exciting. There is a new, not a remaster, but a new Crash Bandicoot on the way.
4, I believe.
Crash 4.
I'm here for it. I had fun playing the originals. What about you?
I never got really into them. I would play them at like friends' houses.
Yeah.
But they're fun.
Yeah, they're just like mindless fun games, right? Like you're not. I guess there are people that play it like super like intensely, but for me, this was always just one of those fun games of like, let's just see how far I can get.
Yeah, totally. It's Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time. Literally, that's what it's called. It comes out October 2nd.
I will say, if Sony is bringing back Crash Bandicoot, bring me back Parappa the Rapper.
PlayStation 5 launch title.
Parappa the Rapper.
That'd be dope. They're bringing back Crash. They're bringing back Sackboy.
Bring me Parappa the Rapper and Brave Fencer Musashi. You can have all the money you want.
I'm into it. I'm also into Avatar, and so are a lot of people. That show's sort of having a revival because it just hit Netflix,
Right.
and
There's a lot of people that I
following
know
suit,
that are
yeah,
watching it.
people love it.
Yeah.
Following suit, three of those characters, Aang, Korra, and Zuko, are being added to Smite.
This is actually a really cool idea from Smite because that game like
Totally.
really hasn't had that much hype around it. And they're adding these skins or these characters to it. And it just like at least garners some attention at the very
Mm-hmm.
least.
Mm-hmm. I feel like every once in a while I see somebody like tweet about playing it, but yeah, this is the most I've seen people talk about it in a while.
Yeah. Smite. There's too many battle royale games out these days, and there's like tiers of like which ones are good and like great versus like the free like only a niche group of people play it. I think Smite falls into that third category.
Speaking of battle royale games, Fortnite is hosting a movie night. Actually, tomorrow, or maybe today when you listen to this, who knows? You can log in and watch one of 3 full-length Christopher Nolan movies, depending upon which region you live in.
Do we know what the 3 regions are, or what 3 movies there are?
I think they've announced it. Let me check. Let me pull this up here. I believe
I mean, it has to do with like just rights, right? Like broadcasting rights.
probably. I can't find it, but regardless, when you log into Fortnite at one point, you'll be basically going to a drive-in movie.
If you had the option of watching one of the Batman movies, Interstellar
Inception,
or Inception, which room would you enter?
Interstellar.
Interstellar.
What about you?
I think I'm gonna have to go with one of the Batman movies.
Which one?
I'm a sucker for Batman Begins.
Okay, all right.
I love that entire like beginning sequence of like how he's finding himself, like not at Ra's al Ghul, but when he's like back in Gotham and he's like, buying this, buying that, like, when he talks to
Sure.
Lucius and he's like, I'm going spelunking. Like I love that entire sequence of like him testing out the helmets, like the cape. Like I just love that like the behind the scenes tech parts, which is why I love like when Spider-Man in Far From Home like does the whole thing with like him developing his like suit inside the jet. Like I love those types of sequences. I'm a sucker for those. So
You love a good montage.
I do. I love like seeing like the backstory of like how their tech is developed. So that part about Batman Begins is one of my favorites. And so yeah, that's why I really like that movie.
Something I really like is a really good butt in a video game.
Like a realistic one or like a comic comedic one?
I'm an equal opportunity butt liker. I like it, if it's a good butt, it's a good butt regardless of genre.
Like okay, let me give you the choices. You got like Geralt from like The Witcher 3.
That's feet, Rob.
Okay, but you get what I'm saying. Like that type
Yes,
of art,
I do.
or you get like the Batman Forever, like George Clooney, like Chris O'Donnell butt shots of like putting on the suit. Like which one is it?
I mean, that's like asking me to choose my favorite child. The reason I bring this up is because Ghost of Tsushima's ESRB rating summary is out, and one of the little snippets, and I'm quoting, the game also depicts a man's exposed buttocks as he bathes in a hot spring.
Yeah, so this is one of the reasons behind why their rating was what it is, right?
One of the many, yes.
Yeah, which I think is very specific. They could have easily said like the game depicts a man's exposed buttocks, but it's like as he bathes in a hot spring. So clearly, like the game, you only see his exposed buttocks when you're like in the bathhouse, like when you're doing the shower stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
they're just trying to let you make an informed purchase decision.
I'll take the realism.
I'm here for it. That game's coming soon. Real soon.
Less than a month, or actually just about a month now, right? Because I believe it's 25th.
That's wild.
Yeah, we're recording and it's June 25th right now. So yeah, July 25th. We'll be playing Paper Mario and Ghost of Tsushima.
Coming in hot. Something else that might be coming in hot soon is a new Halo game. The official Halo account tweeted a teaser earlier today. This is Thursday, like you said. It sounds like a brute.
It does.
Waxing poetic about a possible new faction.
I mean, if they can
Hard
get
to
away
say.
from like the Promethean stuff, I'd be really excited.
But this tweet is doing bonkers numbers. It's already like over 100,000 likes. The views are over almost at 3 million right now. This is less than a day old. People are excited.
I think you're excited too, aren't you?
I'm excited. I don't know if I'll play it because I don't know if I will end up getting one of the new Xboxes, but I'm excited because Halo's dope and people like it, and I am in favor of things that people like.
Honestly, this probably is the only game, like reason wise, that I would even purchase an Xbox. Like, there's no other
Is it?
game.
Halo? Is it only Halo?
It's for me from the Xbox first party games. Yeah, it's only Halo. Like I probably wouldn't have played Gears unless I bought the Xbox. Because I bought the Xbox for Halo, I ended up buying Gears and playing it there. But if Halo did not exist on the Xbox, I wouldn't have never gotten it in the first place.
It's bold words, man.
Mm-hmm. I think Dallas might actually feel the same way too.
But that means we're probably closer to Halo than maybe people think. When is the Microsoft thing is in July?
Yeah, their next state of play.
And that's when they I think they've already they literally said that Halo news is going to be there.
Yeah, they did say Halo will be at the next one, so
they're trying to build the hype.
Will it be a launch title? That's the kicker.
That would be a strong play.
It'd be a big reason to get an Xbox first over a PlayStation.
It really would. That would definitely do a lot to shift the exclusive narrative
Mm-hmm.
in Xbox's favor, at least for a little bit.
A full-fledged Halo game over like a full-fledged but spin-off Spider-Man game. I think Halo wins that battle.
Yeah. I would agree. You got anything else, or is that all we got for the news?
I think that's all for the quick hitting news. I think it's time to hit our rounds.
Round one is going to be a little heavy.
Round one.
Because whether you've been paying attention or not, it's been sort of hard to avoid what's going on in the video game industry this week. There's been sort of a reckoning. A lot of people are speaking out about sexism, harassment, sexual assault in the video games industry. It started, I think, almost a week ago, maybe? Or maybe it was over the weekend, but it's sort of snowballed since then, and it is catching just about everybody. There's a lot of places you can go to sort of get caught up on this. There is a Medium article that is keeping a running list in a Google Doc of all of the different accusations and where they're being levied against, who people work for and whatnot. If you're just looking for quick facts, there's also been several articles that do a good job of sort of summing things up. One from the New York Times, one from Bloomberg. I'll sort of quote from a couple of these. This is from the New York Times article. More than 70 people in the gaming industry, most of them women, have come forward with allegations of gender-based discrimination, harassment, and sexual assault since last Friday. They've shared their stories and statements posted to Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and the blogging platform TwitLonger. The outpouring of stories from competitive gamers and streamers who broadcast their gameplay on platforms like Twitch for money led to the resignation of the CEO of a prominent talent management company for streamers in a moment of reflection for an industry that is often contended with sexism, bullying, and allegations of abuse. And the numbers have only gone up since that was published, so it's now well over 70 people.
Oy. Man.
This also sort of gets into how it started, which is interesting because it started with a game that we both follow pretty closely, so we've sort of been following this since the drop. I'm going to quote from New York Times again. Gamers began sharing their stories after a Twitter user who posts as HolloTide tweeted about an unnamed top player from the online game Destiny, referring to the person as a scumlord. 3 female streamers saw the post and decided to come forward about their experiences with the gamer in question, who's known online as both Lono and Say No to Rage. The women posted their allegations, including non-consensual touching, propositioning for sex, and harassment on Twitter using their streamer handles. When this all dropped, we started sort of talking about it in our group, and we were obviously very disappointed, very sad that this is going on. But one thing that was a little heartening and impressive was how quickly and how strongly the community rallied around the people making the accusations, and how closely it seemed that people who have worked with Say No to Rage in the past had been working with his victims. From what we could tell, they have been in contact for a long time and had been already working behind the scenes legally to make sure that when they were ready to come out, they would have the strongest legal case that they could.
Which is, I mean, that's smart. First of all,
yes,
super smart. And then the second thing was like, man, can you imagine just like what's going through your head as you decide to come forth with this to begin with, and then to have to go through that like entire period of like thinking about coming out with this, and then you're doing all the legal stuff as well. There's probably so many times where they were in a dilemma of like, should I really go through with this? Should I not?
Is it worth it?
And then they went through with it, and then you see like, man, just the emotion and the overwhelming number of support and other stories that you just start to see just trickle out, right? And it's still trickling out.
Yeah, I mean, this snowball is now a full-on avalanche. It's led to accusations against the former managers of IGN as a whole, Steve Butts and Tal Blevins.
Yep.
It has caught Insomniac Games. The creative director of the new Assassin's Creed game has stepped down. Just earlier this evening, a Twitch partner came forward with allegations of against the Twitch account director of strategic partnerships, which is basically like the guy that runs like partnered Twitch streamers.
Yeah, or like the liaison from Twitch for them.
Right. I mean, this is wild.
Yeah.
One of the bigger articles from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg also had a lot of allegations levied against Chris Avallone, who's a very, very well-known, critically acclaimed video game writer. He has worked on games like Fallout New Vegas with Obsidian. He worked on Prey. He worked on Jedi Fallen Order. And some of the stuff levied against him is It's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, there's some of the stories, man, and some of these threads are like, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
that still happens in the workplace now. Like, and it's kind of eye opening, um, in a lot of ways, at least to me personally, as how the Black Lives Matter movement has opened my eyes to a lot more of the history, a lot more of the like the pain and suffering that's gone on unnoticed or just unheard from people, right? And not because people aren't talking, it's just that people are disregarding or just not paying closer attention to these cases. And these stories are just, they're terrifying, man. Like, how could you work in such circumstances? Like, first of all, it's incredible that some of these people and some of these women, especially, uh, like, kept up with it. And I understand that it's like a workplace and you're dealing with that aspect as well. So you're just powering through. But man, the amount of strength and courage and like perseverance these women have shown, like through what they went through, and then now that they're coming forth with it, man, it's absolutely, it's heartbreaking and like incredible all to see all in. It's a weird like emotion that I'm going through when I see this.
It speaks to an issue like this. It's now that this has become so big, it's sort of it shows that this isn't just like an isolated thing. This isn't like just one or two bad apples. This is an industry wide issue. And it's sort of forcing people to have conversations that we honestly have needed to have for a long time. And we need to rethink how the industry functions. Um, this is a thing in a lot of industries, but this is a big thing in video games where there are a lot of major events throughout the year that like everybody expects people to be at, and they also expect you to be at the after party, which creates sort of some of these dangerous situations where a lot of these incidents have happened.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue that has sort of come to light is that a lot of these workplaces, both as developers and as journalists, feature men mostly at the top that are ready and willing to abuse their positions of power. And it's something that we, as people who love video games, people in the industry, need to reckon with and change.
I agree. I mean, I don't know. I'll speak personally. Like, I don't know when this is going to end in terms of how many more stories come out.
It doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
No, it definitely does not. But I do hope that everyone gets a chance here. And I'm talking from the perspective of the people that were affected by this or went through a situation like this, that they get their time, and the strength and the ability to share, and to come out with all of whatever was on their heart and whatever was like keeping them down. Because I think the strongest thing is not only empathy but synergy, right? Like you have, I think a lot more people are coming forward with their stories because they see a lot more other people coming out with their stories, right?
Right.
So they're not suppressed anymore. So I think the more it comes to light, the more there's going to be somewhat of a bigger wholesale change aspect in the industry as you know, as broadly as you can paint it. And then hopefully that helps change everything for the better.
Right. It's not about just believing or listening. It's about supporting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it seems like people have been so willing to come out now, is because it started out with a ton of support from the Destiny community. I really am quite proud of the way that the Destiny community handled this, because it was that huge positive reaction initially that sort of created this atmosphere, this safe atmosphere where people felt like it was okay to talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's really like cool in a weird way to see all this happening.
It sucks, but yeah, seeing the support is good to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing I'm trying to get at, which is, I think, super awesome.
Hopefully, we don't see too many more accusations, not because we don't want people to say anything, because we would like to not have to think about how many more instances like this have happened.
Yeah.
But regardless, whenever they come forward, we will be there to show our support.
We definitely will.
But we'll keep tabs on that. But for now, we should go ahead and move on to round 2, which is another somber topic, but not so serious, which is nice. Well, it is kind of serious, but not so gravely serious.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Round 2.
Pour one out because Mixer bit the dust.
Actually,
Very suddenly.
very, very surprising.
All of a sudden, Microsoft just kind of pulled the plug. And basically nobody knew it was coming. I think the only people that knew it was coming were Mixer high-ups and Ninja and Shroud.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna go ahead and quote from just a Verge piece just so we can get the basics here.
Please do.
Microsoft is shutting down Mixer and moving most of its streamers to Facebook Gaming, or at least trying to, as part of a strategic partnership it's entering with the social media giant. The major streamers locked into exclusivity deals with Mixer, including stars like Ninja, King Gothalion, Destiny guy, and Shroud, will be released from their contracts, and Microsoft says it is up to them where they decide to go. After they made that announcement, there was a lot of reporting done on Ninja and Shroud specifically because they notably signed huge exclusivity deals with Mixer. And shout out to them, shout out to their agents, and Microsoft. I don't know what you were thinking allowing the contracts to be written this way, but this is coming from Slasher. Even though Facebook offered an insane amount of money, almost double the original Mixer contracts, both Ninja and Shroud said no and forced Mixer to buy them out, and they made their full amount owed from their contracts, which means Ninja pocketed $30 million.
Sheesh.
And Shroud $10 million.
Sheesh.
Must be nice.
What do you think? You think they got those payments in like full upfront cash, or like in like
I doubt
yearly
it.
payments from Microsoft?
I don't know if it's yearly, but I doubt it's a full like one-time payment.
It'd be a lot of money.
So much money.
You could actually even ask Microsoft to like pay you, like a very meager amount for like the next 60 years.
They got the bag. The bag has been secured.
In the bag, yeah, and it'd be the Tim Bonilla thing, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry, not the Tim Bonilla, the Bobby Bonilla thing for the Mets. Like they're still paying him yearly.
I knew what you meant. I literally thought that was
Yeah.
what the name was.
Sorry, I forgot his name, but yeah, that's a lot of money.
For the not less talented or less popular, but for the people that aren't Ninja and Shroud, Facebook is offering a one-time $2,500 signing bonus if you are a Mixer partner and you choose to move to Facebook Gaming. You also have to stay for 90 days after that.
That's not bad, right? $2,500
if you need
for,
if you need the cash.
yeah, secure the cash of $2,500 for just staying for 3 months. Like, that's not bad at all. And you could probably, if you're a partner, you probably have a good enough like following already that you could probably switch over to Twitch if you really want to afterwards, and you'd still keep the same amount of people if you wanted to move platform.
This is getting into the issue here, which is that Mixer shutting down without warning really jeopardizes a lot of people's livelihoods if they are relying on that streaming income.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, they no longer have an audience if they were only streaming on Mixer.
Yeah, if Mixer was like their like platform of choice.
Mm-hmm. Or there were several examples of people who have been like not perma-banned, but have like experienced Twitch bans for doing things and have learned and gotten better, but they still have a negative stigma on Twitch, so they migrated and now feel like they have nowhere to go.
I do hope Twitch does like a forgiveness type of thing, where it's like an interview with like one of their like partner liaisons. You know, you get forgiven for like a one strike type of deal. But yeah,
But overall,
if you're like a Microsoft person or even an Xbox person, this takes away from your community, right? And the thing that you've built.
that's sort of what I was about to get into, is that when you zoom out, this is a very interesting time to pull the plug on Mixer, because you would think that if they worked to integrate it into the new Xbox ecosystem, it would have given it a little bit of a boost, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But for whatever reason, they just decided that it wasn't worth holding on to until then.
it's super strange to me too with the timing of all this, because over the last few months, Twitch, like their company as a whole, has made a ridiculous amount of money. And they're like one of the few companies that haven't gone on a hiring freeze. Like they're actually hiring people because, of how well their company's doing. And I assumed that would kind of be the same place with Mixer. But clearly it wasn't up to par to what Microsoft wanted from that division. So, like I would think that right now their numbers would be significantly better than what it was, like 4 or 5 months ago.
I would be really interested to see exactly what the numbers were and look at why now they decided to pull the plug, why they deemed it something that wasn't worth continuing. It intrigues me to no end, but we'll probably never really know.
Yeah, or we'll probably get like a documentary about Mixer from like Jason Schreier or someone from who does like those long form, like maybe even like Daniel Dwyer, like but like 2 years down the road.
Yeah, I could see it, but it's gone. R.I.P. Mixer.
Man,
You had a bad run.
and it was like yesterday. It felt like we were all like, "Holy crap, Ninja is getting what type of contract at Mixer?"
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
So it goes. Another one bites the dust.
don't, no,
Another round bites the dust, which means it's time to move on to round 3. Finally, some exciting news.
Round 3.
Several big events this week. 3 major ones, really. There was a Pokemon announcement. There was an Avengers gameplay showcase. There was a Cyberpunk gameplay showcase.
Let's go by chronological.
Pokemon, Avengers, Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Pokemon, as we talked about last week, teased this big new announcement. Got on stage, got on the Twitch stage, and debuted Pokemon Unite, which is basically League of Legends. It's a MOBA. 5v5 multiplayer team game. You score points by catching Pokemon and depositing them. You play as a Pokemon yourself. They have a set roster that will likely expand. You start off as like a lower level, like a Charmander or Squirtle, and you level up as the game progresses. What did you think of the gameplay?
Honestly, from like a gameplay and also like an aesthetic standpoint, it looks like Heroes of the Storm Pokemon version.
Totally.
It doesn't look like League. It doesn't look like Dota. The feel of the map and everything looks very much like Heroes of the Storm. Um, and I feel like this could honestly be a very, very good like intro game to get people into MOBA games.
Totally.
And I think that's kind of probably the target they're going after. Like, we have no idea of like how in depth like the gameplay is and all that, and the fighting and the mechanics. But judging from what I saw, like I feel like it's going to be intriguing enough for people who are well versed with MOBAs and easy enough to get to get started for a lot of beginners. So I'm curious to actually play this, especially because it's free to start.
Free to
As is
start
like
is an interesting way to put it
Heroes of
too.
the Storm and Dota. So yeah, I'm interested to see how many people like jump on when this first starts, how long it holds, like, and how regularly they add new characters. The cool part about this is they're playing Pokemon, which means they don't even need to do real uh, character creation, right? You have a entire list of database of Pokemon that you can run through, and you can
Mm-hmm.
literally pick one out blindly, and then just like create their moves and all that into uh, the game, and you'd have a new character. You could pump out pretty much like a character every month, and you can add them in if you have an engine that can create the character models fast enough. But yeah, I mean they're sitting on a gold mine here in terms of how much money they can rake in, because if you can create enough character hype, like to say like here's like your pass, right, your season pass to get six new Pokemon onto your roster, right? When we release them, and you just keep pumping out these characters, dude. The amount of money that people pour into Pokemon Go and stuff to begin with, you don't think people are gonna pour money into this too? Like you're sitting on a gold mine if you just market this and like consistently produce product enough.
Absolutely. Another interesting thing is that it'll be on both Switch and mobile and will support crossplay from the drop.
If you had the option, you're playing this on the Switch, right? You're not playing this on mobile.
I don't know. I'll have to see how it ends up playing.
Yeah, I mean, just because I saw people playing on mobile in that demo, and it felt weird. I'd want the full screen access and the buttons I can press to do my abilities versus like having to slide my finger from the bottom right, like up, or click like another button,
Mm-hmm.
or like a part of my screen to get it, and it eats up a part of my screen. But I could see Unite being like a big part of my cell phone gaming.
That's why I am hesitant to commit to the Switch.
It's just an easy game to like hop in and play on your phone.
Another reason why I am hesitant is because I feel like it may be developed in a way that it functions best on the phone because it's being developed by Tencent's Timey, Timi is how you spell it. The Tencent's Timey Studio, who's the same studio that developed Call of Duty Mobile, which is a huge hit, by the way.
Huge hit, huge hit. I know people that
Massive.
don't even play like console games or PC games, but play Call of Duty on their phone.
So yeah, that makes me feel like it could be best played on your mobile device. But we'll see. Another interesting thing is that Nintendo doesn't seem to be as affiliated with this as they are with other Pokemon things. They haven't tweeted about it from the Nintendo accounts. The only accounts tweeting about it are Pokemon Company accounts. So it makes me feel like because this is a deal with Tencent, Nintendo isn't really as involved.
Does it feel like one of those things where Tencent or Nintendo, like either Tencent bought the rights off of Nintendo or Nintendo offered the rights to Pokemon for them to
Well,
develop a
Nintendo doesn't
game?
have. I mean, the Pokemon Game Freak has the rights, not Nintendo.
Right, right. Sorry, that's what I meant. Like they just offered up the assets and the rights to like a naming and usage of characters versus actually like actively looking to create a mobile game.
I think the Pokemon Company has actually been extremely interested in penetrating the Chinese market for a long time. And this is probably the culmination of those efforts.
Yeah.
Tencent is, for the unaware, a Chinese based company.
I
It's
believe
actually, Tencent's involvement has actually been a little bit controversial because they are well known for doing things to silence Hong Kong protesters, especially like players who play their games. They've been barred from sort of speaking about it, even if they are directly affected by it.
yeah, don't they have a big investment in Blizzard stuff?
Um,
Or am I mistaken?
I mean, they run a lot. Tencent is. It's hard to find stuff that Tencent isn't invested in, but they did run into a thing with recently with Hearthstone, I believe. Anyway, that's sort of been an issue for people that they don't want to really invest in a game developed by a company like that. The other interesting thing is Tencent's involvement likely caused them to split these two announcements between the video this week and the video last week. Um,
That actually makes
because
sense.
of because of the Chinese market, they couldn't have last week's announcement broadcast in China because it featured Pokemon Go, which is banned in China. So if they are trying to make a product that gets them into that market, they needed to separate it.
That actually makes perfect sense.
Overall, I'm pretty excited. I really enjoy watching League. I don't really play it, but this I feel like I will play.
This is gonna be a really like in part of the language, but a very shit talking like friends game that we play.
Speaking of that, this is a Nintendo game, so you know there's going to be no form of in-game communication. So good luck coordinating in solo queue.
I was actually curious of how they were doing it in the video. I was like, are they actually talking to each other? Are they on a video call? Or are they not talking at all, just like playing the game?
Definitely on a Zoom call. It looked like.
So I guess we're just gonna have to Discord it up whenever we play.
No, we just got to be in sync.
The hive mind.
That's right. Uh, Speaking of teamwork, let's talk Avengers.
Assemble.
They just had a huge gameplay showcase earlier today where they detailed a lot of information about the single player campaign. The story will focus on MODOK, who is trying to eradicate all superhumans in the world. The Avengers have been sort of disbanded at this point because of things. What's the fallout stemming from the 8A situation, but they're getting the band back together. You can go play through. We watched a Thor level where he just swings his hammer a lot.
Yeah.
What did you think? You watched it. What did you think?
I mean, the gameplay looked. I mean, okay. aesthetically, the game looks great, right? And of course, it's Crystal Dynamics. Like you know that they're gonna nail how it looks. But gameplay wise, looked super button mashy, like just like uh, what's the best like uh,
I mean, to me, it looks boring.
you know what it looked like? You know how you and I have this affinity for the Lord of the Rings games on PlayStation 2,
Totally.
like the Two Towers.
Totally.
But like if you go rewatch that game, the gameplay of those and the systems, it's like it's very button mashy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the feel I got, where it's like each character has their own like combos through like different abilities, and you like build up this stuff, but it's very much like square, 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 and then when this bar like lines up, like hit L1 and R1 together, or like you have another combo where it's like press X to jump into the air, and then press like square, then triangle to do this move.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like it felt very much so stagnant in that sense, where you're gonna get hooked to like one specific move that you really like or two, and those are the only moves you're ever gonna do to like knock guys out.
Right.
So very underwhelmed with how the gameplay looked, but aesthetically looked great. I do actually like how they're doing multiplayer, which they talked about. But I don't know if you wanted to talk about that now or if you wanted to get into other
Let's
stuff.
get into it.
Yeah, so for my end, the multiplayer stuff is actually the part that intrigued me the most, because you basically have all these all your Avengers characters, right? And then you have all of these like, you know, normal mods, these legendary mods, character skins, whatever, to outfit your specific Hulk, your specific Thor, your specific Iron Man, and your specific all of your Avengers. You
Mm-hmm.
pick one character basically that you're going to play with, and then you're matchmaked, and then you go into playing this mission with your friends or whoever, and they're all playing with another character, um, that they fully decked out in their mods to according to their playstyle of that character, and you join up as a group and you like do these fights. And I thought that was super interesting because that puts a very solo take on a vastly multiplayer aspect. And then there were also the parts where you had the uh, charge up abilities, like the teammate finishers, where you like finish combos with like another teammate who's a different character. And I'm sure all of those things. It's kind of um like in P5 Royale, right? Like those tag team finishers with like the two characters. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
felt like they're gonna, it's that type of aspect, and you're gonna be curious to see what type of finishers you can get with like different combos of different characters. Um, so that part looked awesome. And then they said, they're gonna add a new character too. So your first or the first like DLC character they'll do after launch. So with all that being said, like I think the multiplayer aspect of this actually is probably gonna be the most fun. Um, like just playing out with friends, be like, all right, I'll be Hulk, for this mission. I'll be Thor. I'll be Iron Man. I'll be Black Widow, or I'll be Miss Marvel. Uh, so yeah, I'm that. Those are the parts that I'm like super excited about. But and the story to a little extent, but the gameplay as itself, like just in a vacuum, doesn't look too exciting. But I want to get your takes.
So all of that is great. And I mean, you know me, I love getting in there and tinkering with loadouts and all of that.
Yeah.
That's my jam. My issue is that they talked a lot about multiplayer mechanics. They talked about buffs, they talked about support, they talked about the team finishers like you said. But what I didn't see and what they didn't talk about was how these multiplayer missions, war zones I think they called them,
Yeah.
how those are going to be challenging, how they're going to be different than the single player stuff. Because from what we saw, it looked like you were just doing the same things that you do in single player, but you have teammates and there's maybe more enemies or there's a couple bigger ones. But if it's just doing the same stuff with a couple extra buffs, I mean, that's not that fun.
Yeah. If it's just clear enemies every single time you hit the map, yeah.
They mentioned something about bosses, but I mean, there were bosses in the single player level too. I I need to see more from them before I'm willing to say that it looks like it'll be fun, because if it's just running through levels and getting a buff from a friend every now and then, that doesn't sound that fun to me.
Yeah, I agree. What about some of the other stuff?
I think the customization is neat. I think if you are an Avengers fan, which a lot of people are, you'll probably be into this.
Yeah, the skins look great. Uh, they're pulling deep for a lot of these skins.
Totally.
And yeah, I mean, otherwise the story looks pretty intriguing. Uh, the wording of some of the stuff is interesting to me because Marvel's very careful with how they use their words, especially with like their lore.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch the trailer, they talk about the person who's narrating like the trailer says like, Modoc's trying to rid the world of like all Inhumans, and like
Mm-hmm.
Modoc, like you hear Modoc's voice and is like the Inhumans are like a threat to humanity, blah blah blah. The Inhumans like are like a whole comic book division of their own, right? And they
Yeah, they're
don't
like a
use those
specific
words
group of
lightly,
people.
right? So curious to see if there's more surprises here that have to do with the actual Inhumans, um, versus just like superheroes. Yeah, so like, that was like an interesting part that I kind of saw from the trailer, and I was like, huh, like they're not
Totally.
ones to use that word lightly because they know of what it infers. So I do wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a tie-in, just like thematically, because they were supposed to have an Inhuman movie come out at the end of this year, uh, or was supposed to, and they
Right
had to,
before everything went to shit.
yeah, but I think it got pushed to next year, right? So you know, it could have easily been something that they were trying to not tie in, like they weren't gonna story wise, but just like how they did the Spider-Man movie, and then they put out like a Spider-Man game, kind of in that same vein of just keeping like the name in a lot of talking circles. So
Sure.
it'll be interesting to see. I know that they said they're doing more of these. They said or soon. They said soon. They actually gave like a bigger or closer timeline for the Cyberpunk one, but we can talk about that in a little bit.
That's it'll be interesting. It does seem like they want to add a lot of heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm maybe not super interested in playing the game, I am interested in seeing what comes of it.
Yeah, if it becomes a games of a service long term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the hub area where you like pick out your missions and stuff felt very much like Anthem.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
in
feel
that
that.
like you can do like all of these missions solo, you can do all these missions with like friends, or you can like match make with like different types to like do out these dungeons and other missions like that. Like that's what it kind of looked like. So, and Anthem has, well, Anthem, that's a whole other discussion.
Woof.
Like,
I'll tell you something I am extremely interested in playing. That's Cyberpunk 2077.
oof, oh baby.
They had their uh event. What did they call it again? Nightwire?
Yep.
That's right.
It was like
Um
it felt like a late night like radio show type.
yeah, definitely very uh in character for the
Yeah.
game. But what it ended up being is some announcements and some gameplay. So we'll start with the big exciting announcement, especially for me personally, which is that there's going to be a cyberpunk anime developed by Trigger, who is maybe my favorite anime studio of all time. They did Kill la Kill, they do Little Witch Academia, they do Gurren Lagann.
Not
They're
A1.
They're incredible. Dude, Trigger, how do you beat Trigger?
I don't know, man. A1's pretty up there for me.
I mean, just if you just put Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill up against anything, I don't think any 1-2 punch beats that.
Yeah, you're maybe right. Unless you're like Studio Ghibli.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
Right.
But that's coming to Netflix in what, 2022?
2022. So I believe the announcement said that it's co-produced, right, between Netflix and Trigger.
Which is something that they're already doing for another series that I'm blanking on the name. But
They're doing a lot of that, not only for like animes, but like even like Korean dramas and Korean TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
They're investing a lot of money in like having some production say into a lot of these shows that they know do well internationally and not just for their respective countries.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're both stoked for this.
Totally. After this big announcement, they went into some gameplay where they showed off your character using something called and I'm gonna look this up so I get this right.
It's BD.
Brain wave analyzer, I believe. Brain dance editor. Sorry.
Yeah, they should call them BDs for short.
Right. So what this is basically you can download the memories of someone and watch it back. What it started is you just watched it back from their perspective. And that's neat, but it doesn't accomplish the goal that you set out to when you started watching this. It was just to figure out how this robbery went down. But what you find is that you can actually zoom out and sort of watch the scene as like a third party. You still are limited to the subject's perspective, but they were able to do some incredibly intricate stuff. Like they could zoom out, see what happened. They saw that he eventually gets shot. And in order to find out who shot him, you notice that there's a security camera. So you actually have to view like the monitor that someone behind the counter is watching, and then you can end up seeing who did it, which is a level of detail that I am enamored with.
It's like the detective mode in the Batman series, or like in when you like see the echoes if you play Division 1 or Division 2, but it's like those types of situations like put on steroids.
Right. It was really cool to
sequence.
watch. And that is not the only thing that had an insane level of detail, because after they went through the gameplay footage, they brought on a couple of writers to talk about the lore behind it. And it was so in depth. I was geeking out.
Yeah.
They talked about like, where it was invented, what university it was at.
And then like it's become like a full-fledged entertainment industry of people living out their dreams or living out situations. And of course, it like, falling into like the adult sector as well. And of course, there's like this backside of like the black market per se of this, where you can see the life of like, or redo like crimes, or like relive these types of sequences and like all that. So yeah, the way they talked about it was like super cool. And if that's how much lore they've built up for literally a mechanism in the game, right, that you can, or like a tool in the game you can use, you can imagine the rest of the game and like just how much other lore they put in for everything else. And it's to be expected if you know CD Projekt Red and you've played The Witcher or any of the 3 Witcher games. Like you just know that these guys put in so much time into just like the backstory. And I know you're gonna spend hours just like reading through like logs, right? That you find.
Oh my god. I'm gonna disappear when this game drops. So after that they kind of talk about how they develop characters, and that even more so than the brain dance example speaks to the level of detail you're talking about, because they go into how when they develop a character, they chart their whole life. They chart like where they were born, what their parents were like, how they grew up, what sort of struggles they encountered as they aged, whether they overcame them or ignored them or succumbed to them, and how that affects them as a character, how it affects their motivations. All of that thought goes into a character when they create one, and sometimes you don't even see nearly a glimpse of that with how the character actually interacts in the game and maybe his dialogue, but that's the level of thought that is behind every bit of this game's environment. And that is just it's mouthwatering.
How many hours do you think? Like, let's say you played like 3 hours, like today, right? Let's just assume you played Cyberpunk for 3 hours today. How much of the 3 hours do you think you would have spent like just looking and reading lore and like stuff you found, like not like real gameplay, but like, you know, like this artifact you found, or like this story thing you found, or like just reading up on this backstory, or like listening on a conversation of like two people talking?
An amount that I'm not comfortable saying out loud.
You're given 3 hours to play Cyberpunk. You probably played 4 hours of just looking up lore.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to a guy that walked around it and listened to every conversation in the settlements in The Last of Us, and that was bad writing.
Yeah, this game
just wait till I get my hands on some good writing.
I'm so excited. Was there anything else from the Cyberpunk video?
Well, the other big thing is that at the end of the video, they they even announced when it happened, an embargo dropped, and now there's a bunch of gameplay impressions out that you can go read.
Yep. And I believe it's not the same demo that they had at E3 last year.
No, it was a behind closed doors demo that we haven't seen.
Yeah. And I did read a little bit of some of those, but I think I'm going to wait till I get full judgment on those, because
they basically sort of confirm what we're saying, which is that this is a huge, complex game that you're going to spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, like how long was this game in development? Like the rumors started peaking up, what, like 4 or 5 years ago?
There was actually a tweet that talked about this. Cyberpunk was announced before this console generation was a thing, and it will release at the dawn of the next one.
So what, 7, 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Yeah, because I remember the Cyberpunk Twitter account only just started like tweeting again. What was it, like last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone started freaking out when it like just said like beep or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And then now we're here. Granted, it got delayed again, so we're still a few more months out, but
November, right?
Yeah, I believe it's November. Because it was September. I believe it was the same month as Avengers, and then now it's pushed back further.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, perfect for the two of us. I mean, you know, wintertime, sun sets early, so you'll be indoors a lot more.
Gives me time to build that
dive
PC.
into Cyberpunk. Have they said a release date, or is it still just blindly November?
No, they have a release date. I'll pull it up.
I can't remember what the date was. I'm just hoping it's
November 19th.
The 19th?
Yep.
Is that Thanksgiving weekend this year?
I will
That's
tell
a very
you.
Good question.
Momentarily. That is the week before Thanksgiving.
Oh, which is lovely.
Loverly.
Lovely. I love it when they release games like this before Thanksgiving. You know, a lot of these games come out like either like after Thanksgiving, like the week after.
Mm-hmm.
But that time is useless. Now Thanksgiving, oh my goodness, that's gonna be glorious.
I can't wait.
I don't need anything for Black Friday. Just give me Cyberpunk.
This game's gonna be insane. I'm super excited.
Do you think you'll spend more time in this game than you did in Xenoblade?
Oh yeah. For sure. Because Xenoblade is long just because it's a JRPG. Cyberpunk is going to be long because it's like it's long in the same way that like Breath of the Wild is long. It's because you want to be in that world.
Yeah, you want to spend more time in it.
Right.
I concur, my friend.
I'll tell you what I don't want to spend any more time in is this podcast episode.
Because we're done.
We're fresh out of topics, my man.
Well, I guess the last thing is Cyberpunk at the very end of their thing said that they'll be back in a couple weeks.
That's right. There'll be more night wires.
Mm-hmm. But for us, we'll be back next week.
We will. Let them know where they can follow you until then.
You can find me on Twitter at Rob11HWANG.
You can find me on Twitter at Jack Peglow. You can find the podcast at FriendliesPod. You can send us an email, friendliespodcast@gmail.com. You can
follow us on Twitch.
Follow us on Twitch. That was the word I was looking for. We're going to try to start doing some more streaming stuff. We're co-streaming all the big announcements, most of them at least.
Yep.
So stay tuned. We'll have some Switch stuff coming up.
We'll see y'all soon.
Stay thirsty, my friend.